Hello. In this episode, I'm going to share with you 3 thoughts from Proverbs chapter 5, verses 7 through 14, where we will learn that it is wise to avoid adultery. Proverbs chapter 5, verses 7 through 14 says, "And now, O sons, listen to me, and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and do not go near the door of her house, lest you give your honor to others and your years to the merciless. Lest strangers take their fill of your strength, and your labors go to the house of a foreigner. And at the end of your life you groan, when your flesh and body are consumed. And you say, how I hated discipline, and my heart despised reproof. I did not listen to the voice of my teachers, or incline my ear to my instructors. I am at the brink of utter ruin in the assembled congregation." You would think that I wouldn't have to tell the folks watching this video that they need to avoid adultery. After all of these videos that we're doing are going through the Bible and talking about the text of Scripture. So you would think that I wouldn't have to tell you that adultery is bad. But that's not the case. I do need to tell you that. And the reason I need to tell you that is that the text of Scripture tells us that. And you would think that we would know from the examples of all the different people in Scripture who engage in adultery that it doesn't work out for them, that it causes them all sorts of problems. You would think that people would have gained collectively sufficient wisdom to avoid this in their own lives. That's what you'd think, but that isn't the case. So here are 3 thoughts on avoiding adultery from Proverbs chapter 5, verses 7 through 14. Thought number 1, avoid temptation. Meaning, you know where you're tempted. You know this. You know what tempts you the most. Stay away from it. This is the basic way of protecting yourself from committing the sin of adultery. You know what your triggers are. Stay away. You know what temptations are the greatest for you. Don't go near it. Avoid temptation. By avoiding temptation, you greatly reduce the risk of you succumbing to temptation. Thought number 2, maintain honor. We still have this ghost of Christianity in the West. The ghost of Christianity is what I call the residual moral fabric from what is essentially and more quickly becoming a post-Christian culture. And within that is still this sense of honor and integrity around what people do physically. Maintain your honor is a concept that says you made a vow to your spouse. And since you have made a vow to your spouse, keep that vow. Don't allow the passions that inflame you to overcome the honor that you have in being faithful to your spouse. Maintain that honor, because all of us know that the commission of adultery is shameful. I don't need to convince you of that. You know that, because you know that it would be absolutely devastating to be cheated upon. So you know that it is shameful to cheat on another person. Thought number 3, hear wisdom. And that is so hard to do. It is so hard to hear wisdom from somebody else. It is so hard to hear somebody else say, these are the things that you should do. Because if you don't do these things, then chaos results. Immediately when I hear that, when I hear somebody giving me some wisdom, my inclination is to argue back. Well, what do you know? Do you know my life? Do you know who I am? Do you know the struggles that I face? Blah, blah, blah. Avoid temptation. Maintain your honor and hear wisdom. And when you do that, your life is glorifying to God and honoring to Him. And from that, you ought to feel the fulfillment that you seek. These three thoughts come to you from today's reading, Proverbs 5 and 6. If you'd like to read through the Bible with me, you can join the Facebook group Through the Bible, where we are reading the text of Scripture together.